hovered over them, as the smallest infraction could mean a painful punishment, usually in the form of beating. She fought back, pushing her into a chair.
She finna get beat for defending herself. No bullshit, let's go.
Hughes was different. He was born of slaves, as was his father. He didn't know any other life.
We were slaves. We belonged to people. They sell us like they sell horses and cows and hogs and all like that. Have an auction bench, and they put you up on the bench and bid on you, the same as bidding on cattle, you know.
Welcome to Devin GTV, where I pretend to know a whole lot. I try to learn a little bit, but I don't really know shit. So today, I'm about to watch The Real History of Slavery, the Southern Negro. On this channel, you guys know I react to a lot of history. Do I remember every single detail? Absolutely not, but I do my best. And if you are new, do not forget to subscribe and turn that dang on bell on. Let's get to it.
All that I know, they teach you to mind your master and your missus.
Been slaves all our lives. My mother was a slave, my sister was a slave, father was a slave.
They treat me nice as they could treat me. And if I want anything, I'll
What I learned was that slavery was hereditary. So if your mother was a slave and the mother had a child, the child was automatically a slave. And there was no chance of that slave being free.
I was taught it that way by my old master.
These are the voices of former slaves, victims of one of America's greatest crimes against humanity. Listening to them speak and hearing their lamentations does a different level of justice than history books ever could. John Henry Folk was a storyteller and radio show host who in 1941 started doing interviews with former slaves in a project to bring awareness to racism. One former slave he interviewed was Fountain Hughes. Little did Folk realize this interview would be one of his most important.
My name is Fountain Hughes. I was born in Charlottesville, Virginia. My grandfather belonged to Thomas Jefferson. My grandfather was 115 years old when he died.
He says grandfather was 115 years old when he died. You would think that in slavery times, you would make it to see 60, 70, especially when you're doing hard backbreaking labor in the heat, you picking cotton all day. But he lived to see 115 years old, man.
And now I am 101 years old.
Wow.
Although many slaves were kidnapped or abducted, Hughes was different. He was born of slaves, as was his father. He didn't know any other life.
Wow.
We were slaves. We belonged to
What
people.
the fuck?
They sell us like they sell horses and cows and hogs and all like that. Have an auction bench.
Damn.
And they put you up on the bench and bid on you, the same as bidding on cattle, you know.
Could you imagine them putting you on an auction and there's a family there? And so somebody wants to purchase the baby, but not the mother or the dad? Could you imagine how heartbreaking that would be? Could you imagine parting with your baby, your newborn baby, you not knowing where this child is going? Oh my God, man. I don't know what I would do.
The auction bench was an infamous place among slaves. Here, people would learn not only who their future masters would be, but exactly what price a person could put on another person.
Sell the women, sell the men. Oh, they
Look, like chickens.
And sell them to the
Like
nigger
chickens.
traders, what they call the nigger traders, and they ship them down south.
Jesus.
And sell them down south.
After leaving the auction, they would be at the whims of their new masters. Of course, when someone is considered to be a piece of property rather than a person, little is done to make them comfortable. Deplorable living conditions, tattered and worn out clothes, and sometimes a bare minimum of food were all that slaves were given.
Colored people didn't have no beds when they were slaves. They gonna sleep on the floor. Pallet here, pallet there. Just like a lot of wild people. We didn't know nothing.
This is gonna be a hard one to watch here, y'all. I ain't gonna lie to you. To know that people were actually treated like this. And you know, to hear about slavery is one thing, but then to see it, to watch a video with someone telling the story of them being a slave, that paints a whole different picture.
Didn't like to look at no book.
Often, the slaves were only dressed in what they showed up in, made mostly of rag and cloth. The lucky ones may have had a pair of shoes or
He
some
said the
denim.
lucky ones.
So I didn't never wear no shoes until I was 12 or 13 years old. Now people put on shoes on babies, you know, when they're month old. I don't know. Put shoes on babies just as soon as you see them out in the street, they got shoes on.
Not much attention was given to the slaves' diet. More times than not, they would only have things like soups or stews made from the scraps of the master's dinner.
Scraps.
Wooden tray dug out, you know, all about that long.
They ain't
And
bullshit.
all of them, you know, would get around that tray with spoons and just eat. Sit you like mush or soup or something like that. And all them children get around there and just eat.
And just a smiling too.
Slaves had no weekends, no holidays,
Jesus.
no days off. Each day was filled with nothing but work and meeting the needs of the masters.
Wow.
Night never comes out. You have nothing to do.
But work.
Time to cut tobacco. If they want you to cut all night long out in the field, you cut. And if they want you to hang all night long, you hang tobacco. It didn't matter about your being tired, you're afraid to say you're tired.
It wasn't a sense of duty that compelled the slaves, nor was it a love for their owners.
It's for
a
death.
cloud of dread hovered over them, as the smallest infraction could mean a painful
For
punishment,
death.
usually in the form of
Lashes.
beatings. Former slave Laura Smalley described what she saw one
Jesus,
day when
man.
another slave woman earned a whipping after her master's mistress tried to slap her and she fought back, pushing her into a chair.
She finna get beat for defending herself. She's about to get beat for defending herself.
But the thing that poor old woman carried in the peach orchard and whipped her. And, you know, just tied her hand this way, you know, around the peach orchard tree. I remember that just as well, looked like to me, I can't, and round the tree and whipped her. And well, she couldn't do nothing but just kick her feet, you know, just kick her feet. But it just had her clothes off down to her waist, you know. Just didn't have her plumb naked, but they had her clothes down to her waist. And every now and then they'd whoop her, you know, and then snuff the pipe out on her, you know. She snuffed pipe out on her.
Wow.
You know, the embers in the pipe. Where you ever see the pipe smoking?
Blow them out on?
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord.
Mm-hmm.
She say they will blow the pipe amber on her. The amber is like the coal, or I don't know, somebody smoking, but like the fire from the pipe or whatever it is. They would blow that on her. That's fire, right? Like that shit's still hot. So she an ashtray, huh?
Even though slavery was a practice in which evil was free to roam, there were still some owners who aspired to be better, treating the slaves with more dignity and decorum. Having a master who would speak with kindness, show courtesy, and treat them as humans was among the most coveted things any slave could ask for.
They treat me nice as they could treat me. And they all treat me nice. All the white folks that know me, they treat me nice. And if I want anything, I'll ask for it. I was taught it that way by my old master.
So it was rare.
Don't steal, don't lie.
It was rare. Like a human
And
being.
if you want anything, ask for it. Be honest in what you get. That's what I was raised up with.
Wow.
Even though the masters would preach honesty, they were still not very trusting. Simply going out, even on the orders of the master, required a number of steps.
Now I couldn't go from here across the street, or I couldn't go to nobody's house without I have a note or something from my master. And if I had that pass, that was what we call a pass. If I had that pass, I could go wherever he sent me, and I'd have to be back. You know, whoever he sent me to, they'd give me another pass, and I'd bring that back, so to show how long I'd been going.
He said a fucking pass to go across the street. To go down to the neighbor's house. These grown folks need a pass to roam. I guess they figure I own you, figure you a piece of property, you ain't shit, don't divert from these fucking directions or your ass will be, I guess, killed. They needed a pass to go across the street.
With the passage of the Emancipation Proclamation, the slaves were free, but only by degree. They weren't truly as free as they thought. Union soldiers, who slaves once thought of as liberators, would sometimes pass through and not give a second thought to the people they helped to free.
Wow.
I remember when the Yankees come along and took all the good horses and took all the meat and flour and sugar and stuff out in the river and let it go down the river. And they know the people wouldn't have nothing to live on, but they done that.
You know, I saw a movie, I think it was called Glory, where the African Americans were fighting for freedom, fighting for the same freedom as the whites, but then after that, they still treat them like fucking slaves. How am I fighting for the same rights as you? I'm putting my life down just like you're putting your life down. but I'm still less than you?
And if you was cooking anything to eat in there for yourself, and if they was hungry, they'd go and eat it all up. You wouldn't get nothing. They'd just come in and drink up all them milk.
Like you ain't nothing. So you ain't got to eat.
Just do as you please.
You ain't got to eat.
Slavers across the South were incredibly hesitant to change after the order, not only because they were losing the labor they paid for, they were losing an entire heritage. Not taking too well to the new proclamation by President Lincoln, the slavers actively withheld the life-changing information from their slaves, sometimes to the point that slaves would end up working on the plantations for up to 6 more months.
Get the hell out of here. So the slaves are free. They don't want to tell them that they're free because that's free labor. These slaves are working for free. They free. And I assume the only reason they probably let them go is because someone else saw the slaves was like, dude, you know you're free.
The old master didn't tell you it was free.
He didn't tell you that?
No, he didn't tell. They wait till, I think now they said they wait them 6 months out of there.
Wow.
6 months.
Without guidance, though, many of the slaves found their newfound freedom less glamorous than they had thought.
Wow.
With not a dollar to their names, very few possessions, and little to no
Ain't that some
education,
shit?
they found themselves alone. Sadly, millions of newly released slaves, unable to make a living, ended up becoming emaciated, even dying as a result of starvation.
Ain't that some shit? They bring you from a country, throw you into slavery, so all you know is slavery. You have no skills, you don't know how to fend for yourself, you don't know nothing. And so now that you're free, you don't even know what to do. So now you feel that you're in a worse situation. And you die of starvation, you free and don't know what the fuck to do. So you just as lost. So you're in the worst situation. My thought process is that now the slave owners was probably thinking they were better off slaves.
And if we got free, we didn't know nothing to do. And my mother, she hunted places and bound us out for $1 a month. And we didn't have no property, we didn't have no home, we had nowhere, nothing. We didn't have nothing on it, just like your cattle, we were just turned out.
Probably still couldn't get no job, no nothing.
Get along the best you could.
Wow.
Colored people is free, you ought to be awful thankful. And some of them are sorry they are free now. Some of them now would rather be slaves.
Wow!
Although
He said rather be
freedom had been
slaves.
granted, they realized that it came with a heavy price tag. Even though slavery meant hard work and beatings,
Jesus.
it also meant having food and shelter.
Mom and them didn't know where to go. You see, after freedom broke, just like you turn something out, didn't know where to go. That's just where they stayed.
Wow.
Didn't know where to go. Turn us out just like, you turn out cattle. I say, didn't know where to go.
The slave's freedom was met with mixed
Oh my
emotions.
God, man.
Fountain Hughes was asked about how he felt about his freedom and whether or not he would rather have been a slave again. His answer was haunting.
You know what I'd rather do? If I had any idea that I'd ever be a slave again, I'd take a gun and just end it all right away. Because you're nothing but a dog.
He said you're nothing but a dog. I would rather be a slave. He said I would rather die. They had absolutely no knowledge of nothing.
Period was one of the darkest times in the history of the United States. But even though slavery was eventually abolished in the States, it is quite a different case worldwide. From forced labor to human zoos, or areas of the world where visitors would travel simply to gawk at the local indigenous people. Whatever its form, though, the voices of the slaves matter, bringing to light the sad truth that slavery is not dead today.
People coming from across the world to gawk at you because you're something different. A human zoo. It's so hard to wrap my mind around slavery because I was born free in the United States. But to know that that's going on right now, it's so mind-blowing. But then you have people here who aren't taking advantage of the freedom that they have. Not trying to educate themselves, not trying to better their lives, not trying to fucking get a good job, no nothing. They're doing the bare minimum. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed my reaction. Give your boy a thumbs up, like, share, and comment. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And don't forget that damn bell.